Hello, my name is DJ and I will guide you through a quick tutorial on how to use 3D app to create a photorealistic bedroom visualization using 3ds Max and Vray. So let's have a look at the interface first. The left column is for navigating through the assets, browsing different categories. The main window in the middle is a browser that can be viewed with thumbnails. And let's check our free category. So to download any asset, you just need to press add and download, and the downloader will start the process. So once it's downloaded, you can just drag and drop to your Max scene or merge it, and it will be added with all the textures applied and materials set up. Pretty convenient. On the right hand, you have some detailed preview of each asset that you pick, so you can read about the poly count and other details of the mesh. Also browse through its preview images. To make our bedroom, let's first select the render engine that we're going to use, and our app is right now supporting the most popular render engines like Vray and Corona and Arnold. For this tutorial I will use Vray, so let's set up in the 3ds Max render settings. Let's pick Vray render. Let me show you. I've just picked scanline render and I added some assets, so I need to delete them and add them once again after selecting Vray as the render engine, because otherwise the materials might not work just perfectly. And I picked a paid asset for the bed because it fits my design scheme more, but you can also check the free bed is also very good, but I use this one because it has this gray and black covering, and I want to keep my room in this color palette, kind of like minimal. So you can see that I added this and picked the material picker tool, and you can see the shaders are all set up and ready to go. So let's now add the room, because the bedroom, as the name suggests, consists of bed and a room. So we already have a bed. Now let's add the room from our free assets category. Just drag and drop in, easy peasy, like that. Now just position this using the gizmos. Pressing W activates the move tool in 3ds Max. Now let's add a camera to have a look on our 3D scene. We have to have the camera that we will view the models through and render it out. So we'll add Vray physical camera for that. By default it adds in the 0 level on the z-axis, so let's raise it up a bit, selecting both the camera and the target. Now let's pick the camera to be viewed in the 4th viewport. So this will be our final rendering preview. For now, let's leave it like that, or maybe just let's adjust the settings a little bit. Let's change the focal length of the camera, because right now it's pretty much a standard lens, and in such a small interior, if you would like to photograph and see a little bit more of the interior, you'd use a wide angle lens, and that is a shorter focal length. So let's adjust this and also pan the view a little bit, and let's make sure that the vertical tilt of the camera, the perspective shift is taken care of. So let's enable the automatic adjustment for this auto vertical tilt correction, and it will ensure that the vertical lines are parallel to the camera edges. Let's hit render and see what happens. And some of you might have guessed that it will be just pure black screen, and don't get discouraged by this because we already added the models, but we need some light to go inside the room. So let's add a V-Ray sun for this, and let's press yes, add an environment map. We'll use the standard settings for now, and let's place the sun up so that it shines down through the window inside our room. The glass is already set to transparent, so everything's ready for rendering. Let's just make sure that the exposure control is also set up, and let's render now. Oh, I forgot to change the viewport to be rendered like the physical camera, but let's lock it so that we don't have to remember about this later on. And as you can see right now, there's some light in the room. You can see it's a little bit overburnt, so we'll take care of that later. As for now, we'll just adjust some basic exposure settings in the V-Ray frame buffer. So let's hit exposure here, and let's drag it a little bit down so that everything is not just like overexposed. So you can see what's going on here. Pretty basic empty room with a bed, and let's enhance this, adding some furniture and arranging the bedroom. So let's have a look on our library. One thing to be surely added to a nice cozy bedroom is a rug that will tie the room together. And we have a colorful piece right here. So let's pick the black commode here, 5 credits. You could do that also with just the free assets, but I wanted to make the design a little bit more sophisticated for this interior. As you can see, you can buy assets for pretty low price, but if you pay for each asset, you can buy credit packs of $25 or $50 to pick individual assets and buy them inside the app. But I highly recommend buying a subscription, which is right now on sale. So grab it while it's really cheap, and you'll have the access to the whole library of assets without limitations, and the asset library is ever growing, so a yearly subscription is really worth the price. And right now it's already full of assets, and in a year's time it will grow largely in numbers and in cool assets added every week. So let's place a nice cabinet here as well. You can see you can add hearts to each model that you really like, and then you can filter by categories. In the left panel there's favorites down below, and you can view the ones that you marked with the heart. Pretty useful if you want to pick the specific assets that you are going to often use. You can drag it from the middle window or from the asset preview. So to place it, you can use also the place in position tool, but it's adapting the model according to the normal of the face, so pointing upwards towards the face that it sticks to. So it can be quite unpredictable sometimes, but if you get used to it, it's pretty useful, and it makes sure that the asset is really standing on the surface. Now you just need to rotate it, so pressing E on the keyboard gives you the rotate gizmo. So let's add a lighting fixture. I already downloaded this before, so I'll just drag, drop, and add this to my scene. I have to wait a bit, and there you go. Let's drag it upwards. Now let's use the snapping tools. So right clicking on the properties, and I'll set it to stick to faces maybe. And right now when I drag this around my scene, it will automatically stick to faces of other elements. But right now we can't see it in the viewport, so let's adjust the camera a bit. Moving it a little bit upward. Yeah, right now the snapping is irritating, so I'll turn it off, and I'll just drag it upwards. There you go, you can see the lamp right now in the shot. Or maybe I'll adjust the focal length a little bit more so we can see the whole room in the shot. Now let's search for some shelving. So there's a nice rack here with black and white colors, so I'll drag and drop this one. And I have one piece of it which I will just copy and position next to each other, so we have a nice arrangement of shelving modular units, and we can do that by holding the shift button and then dragging. And now confirm, make a copy of the object and rotate it around the y-axis, not 90 but 180 degrees. Let's just drag it upwards, and there you go. We have a nice kind of Tetris vibe setup of shelves. Now for the bedside tables and some lamps for reading in bed. I picked a nice lamp here, and okay, it kind of fits here. Down below we have the bedside table 3. I really like it. This one, let's drag and oh, I first need to buy this one and download. It always has a little bit of a lag while adding, but 3ds Max has to add all the materials and textures, load them into the scene, so it takes quite a while depending on your computer setup, but it shouldn't take very long. And I really like this lamp, a modern one. I'll use the placing tool. So now the lamp is standing on the bedside table, and I'll just pick both of these assets and copy them together. So with Control you can pick multiple assets. And I'll just do the same as with the shelving, so press Shift and drag it by the axis and OK. Use the tools, roll down menu and find the mirror tool, and just like by default is set to x-axis and it's OK for us. Right now it's fitting our design perfectly. So I guess we have the basics of the room set up. Now let's hit render and see how our interior looks like right now. You can see there's overburns here in the where the sun shines in, and that needs some fixing. So let's take a look on what we can do to improve our rendering. One of the crucial things to remember about making realistic lighting is that the materials that you use should be keeping to like realistic values, and that is, for example, white walls are not to be really 100% white in the RGB space. So we'll fix this. Let's have a look where the walls material is, and it's in the ID 8 of our multi-material, right? Okay, this is the one. You can see the white walls, and the diffuse setting here is set to a maximum white color in the RGB space, so it's too bright and it just behaves like unrealistically perfectly white thing. So there's no such thing in real world as 100% white, so that gives just incorrect values in the PBR workflow. Let's also try decreasing a little bit the power of the V-Ray sun, and we'll set this to a quarter, and I'll increase the size, and the size of the sun is responsible for sharpness or softness of the shadows. So the default setting gives quite sharp edges of the shadows, and right now they will be a little bit more blurry. Okay, so now let's add some decorations. I decided to remove the lamp and just add a plant instead. as we already have the lamps next to the bed, so I think some greenery will add a little bit more life to our interior. Let's place the palm right in the corner, looking nice, but it's quite big and kind of like it doesn't fit into this tight interior. So let's try rotating it, positioning it a little bit. But the assets are provided as they are. Sometimes you need to adjust them a little bit to fit your specific scene. So let's have a quick tip on that, how to manage the shapes so that our leaves don't go through the wall. Let's quickly get rid of these additional headphones that were accidentally added. So to fix this, I will just isolate the view of just the palm, so control clicking the palm and the interior. Right now I'll isolate the selection, and this makes me see only the object selected, so I have a clearer view on what I'm doing. And let's search for a modifier, FFD cylindrical. It gives us a lattice shape around our object, and this will serve for a deforming cage for our geometry. So I'll just move it, move the whole lattice a little bit above, so I don't so it doesn't affect the pot, just the leaves. And right now I'm picking the points in the lattice and just scaling them as a usual object, so you can scale, move and transform the points just as any other geometry in the scene, and adjust this shape proportionally according to your liking and needs. So it gives quite good control and doesn't destroy like the inner geometry of the object. It stays as it was, just a little bit deformed, so we can do that. Some more adjustments, and I also get to the editable poly below that a little bit and correct the mostly sticking out leaf with the freeform tool. Yeah, just like that. And right now if you go to the upper modifier, it applies even more deformation, so yeah, it kind of fits right now. See, it's a little bit tighter and it fits our bedroom. Yeah, let's do some corrections here with the headphones. So place them nicely here on the corner and add some more stuff. Decorations is a category that I'll browse through, and I'll add some sculptures, figurines, stuff like that. Maybe some candles as well, you know, just random stuff that people put on shelves to decorate the room, make it look cozy and welcoming and not just like an empty space with just furniture. I'll just pick some and download this. Maybe let's speed up through this process. Yeah, the objects added are added in correct real-world scale, so you can see this head was quite a small figurine. I will place it on the shelf and try to make it a little bit bigger. So you can always adjust the assets to fit your design. Nobody will ever know that this head was a small object. I want it to be a bit bigger, and it will work for my scene. Right. So now to just position this, I'll just do a viewport. Get closer to the object, and now press E to scale the object. Just make sure that you have the right scaling mode. Yeah, so I'll just make sure that it's proportionally scaling all of the object and drag it up so it's a bit bigger, and also rotate it a bit. So from the top view, you can see right now we can see the face, a little bit of a profile view. And let's add the candles. Now, when we're adding things to the shelf, I'll maybe just for convenience I'll zoom in a little bit with the view. So let's place the candle first, and so it's quite far away, so it's hard to see. Let's change the view from camera to perspective, and right now we leave the camera where it was and can just manipulate the viewport the way we need it. So yeah, I'll make it closer here, and so let me find the candle. Now it's here, and now use the positioning tool like this and place it on the shelf. Now let's repeat the trick with copying the object, and to make it not 3 even candles, I'll just scale this one and a third one, so like 3 different sized candles of the same type. I think this looks better, and it will fill our scene a little bit more than just one single candle. Yeah, pretty nice. Now sometimes it's good to avoid this perfect setup, like that everything is super even, because that's not how things are in real life. So make sure that it's, even if it's tidy, don't make it like super perfectly tidy, because this will be unrealistic. So let's try to make it to introduce this little bit of a realistic chaos into our scene. Let's make this a bedroom for a horse lover. We have 2 horse figurines here to the side from some. Let's put one here. And there's another one. So there's also an angel. Oh, starfish. Whatever, just to fill our shelves and don't leave them empty. Yeah, so let's throw in another horse figure, and maybe let's put this one on the commode next to the windows. Pictures need a little bit of position correction. Yeah, so now you can see the photos as well, not just the frames. Yeah, I think it's quite nice. Now the second shelf needs something to be standing there, and maybe let's make it the angel. Yeah, this bell looks nice, so let's download this, and let's just do the same trick as with the candles. Yeah, using isolated selection is quite nice if you want to just focus on a specific part of the scene and not to have to worry about everything else getting in the way. And the isolate mode, and you can see that the shelves are less empty. Now I want to throw in some shoes. So let's go to fashion, and you can see there's shoes to pick from, and I'll add this one and just leave a pair of shoes next to the bed. Let's just position it where we want. Maybe rotate it a bit. Right, not like this. Like that. And now also copy this and use the mirror. The mirror tool to have the opposite shoe here, and now I'll just rotate it. Give some variation, randomness to this scene so that it looks more natural. Let's see through the camera. Yeah, I think it looks really nice. Okay, so one last thing I want to do with this scene is make the feature wall of a white brick. So to do that, first we'll just separate this wall from the rest of the object. So let's go to the modifiers, editable mesh, and let's pick the polygon mode so that we can select every polygon and choose between vertex, edge, polygon, and element. Elements are bigger selections. We need a polygon to select with control every piece of this wall, and now let's press detach, and let's detach this and name it wall. And right now it's a separate object, so now we can select this, only the wall. And now let's create a material for this. So let's go to the material object, material editor, and let's add material Vray material, so the basic setup. And let's plug in quickly a few bitmaps. I will use bitmaps from CC0 textures, so you can apply any kind of texture that you have on your drive. Let's roughness map. I use the Vray normal map and then plug in a normal map as regular bitmap. While loading normal maps for Vray, it's good to override the gamma to 1. It will just work better. But plug into bump map. Yeah, so now you can see it gives us a nice little bump. I use the AO on this texture as the color map, but I'll just also plug in a like color correction here. Plug it in, and I'll just tweak the values, like make it brighter. Maybe less contrast, so that we have just a kind of a white wall with bricks. Yeah, it's just a basic material, nothing fancy. And now I'll just plug this into one of the slots, make an instance, and also name this material brick wall. Now we can apply this material to our wall just by dragging from this dot to the viewport. It should work just fine. Now you can see that this is just a gray image because the wall is not correctly UV unwrapped, so let's quickly add a modifier, UV. Let's type in UV map. Set to default shading, hit render, and see how it looks like right now. It's looking pretty nice, but I don't really like the framing of the shot, so let's have another look at the camera. So let's select the object of the camera and go to the rotate tool. Let's have a look at how it's rotated. So you can see on the x-axis it's almost 90 degrees. Select the target of the camera and move it just slightly so that it's correctly positioned. And now let's move the camera with the target. Let's move both of these and just move it slightly towards the door. Now I still don't like the viewing angle, so let's go. So I'll choose a preset of Canon, and not 18, but maybe let's go crazy with a 15 millimeters focal length. I think it's better. It's showing a little bit more of the interior, a little bit more of the lamp, and generally better framed. And also this thing bothers me a little bit, that's happening behind the window. It was set up for a shot from a different angle, so let's pick the element. Maybe let's do this, and let's rotate this and move it closer. So now it's kind of fitting better. Okay, so there are some trees, something to be showing in the background. And I guess we're ready to go with the final render. Let's have a quick look on the settings. The setup is for HD TV resolution, and GI setting for interiors is mostly used. Like those two, like primary engine, is best to use. The irradiance map, you can experiment with others, but this is probably the most used. And light cache for a secondary engine, and the irradiance map. Well, maybe let's do a low right now, and light cache. The subdiffs are by default 1000, so let's do it like that. You can settle the noise threshold for the rendering to stop. Let's do it like that, and just hit render. So that's it, that's the final result. Of course you can always improve it and play around with the assets, change different layouts, but it's just an introduction of how to quickly make an archviz picture. You can see that it took less than an hour.